talking to us about occupational therapy and help for our aging parents. And I just wanted to give you some information about her. She has been in our group for quite a while and has wanted to speak for a time. And she's finally here. So congratulations. We're glad to have you back. And if you just kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're up to and how you can help our parents in aging.
Absolutely, Tracy. Thank you so much, or Misty, for that introduction. I am glad to be here. My name is Jessi Carling Roberson, and I've been an occupational therapist for nearly 10 years now. And as an OT, I am a healthcare professional who specializes in helping people overcome challenges and who facilitates increased quality of life and independence. It's a privilege to be here with you all today and share some of what I've learned throughout my studies and career as an OT. So if you guys are ready, I can dive in.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. And Jessi, just to make sure, can you please check on your camera because it's not showing currently?
Oh, is it not? Okay,
let's
see. It shows on my part.
Okay. All right, maybe it's
Can you see me, Tracy?
I did for a second.
Okay.
Okay. You're back. There you are.
I'm back. Okay, maybe it's a connection issue.
Little glitch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute. And please feel free to go ahead and share your slides.
Absolutely. Let's get that pulled up here. I will share this window here. And there we go. So specifically, I was asked to speak to you all today on navigating a chapter in life many of us are coming up on, or maybe you're already in the thick of it, but it's one that is much less spoken about than other chapters, yet most of us will not only face this chapter in life, but will also struggle with it. I'm talking about the chapter where your parents are aging. There are so many books and speakers on caring for our children, but what about when our own parents need a caregiver? Well, I believe this topic deserves more diving into, so today we'll discuss how to maximize the quality of our parents' lives as they age, as well as how to maintain your own well-being during this time. First things first, I think we all need to prepare for the future. It's coming whether you're ready for it or not. Thinking about our parents aging and eventually passing away isn't pleasant, but it can be beneficial, especially in the long run. And if you don't already, I'd recommend gathering all info in one secure place, documents such as their accounts, logins, passwords, due dates of bills, insurance cards, medication lists, past medical history. You want to discuss and know your parents' wishes for their finances, their assets, and their healthcare wishes. So know who they'd want to be their power of attorney if they needed one, which advanced health care directives they'd prefer, would they want CPR or do not resuscitate, and initiate making these desires legal using notary or an estate planning lawyer as needed. Another important aspect of helping parents age well is knowing that prevention of illness is key. Now, contrary to belief, the majority of health issues are caused by choices, not by the natural aging process. So appropriate nutrition, exercise, and environment can drastically reduce one's risks for falls, stroke, heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer and Alzheimer's. Obviously, you want to respect your parents' autonomy and preferences for the lifestyle that they choose, but if you do have an influence on their diets, their routines, their environments, it's helpful to encourage a healthy balance in their lives, just as you would for your own life or for your children. And there are so many resources online for nurturing healthy living, but everyone's needs are going to vary depending on that one person. So in my profession as an occupational therapist and also in my personal life, I find it helpful to break down well-being into subcategories to see where the biggest need for improvement may be. So, for instance, I like to examine these subcategories of physical well-being. So that's going to include, their diet, how their body's moving, their skin integrity, sleep, and general health. Mental health is another subcategory. This includes their emotions, thought patterns, stress
Hey,
management.
Jessi,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but are you advancing your slides?
I am. Can you see?
No, it's not.
Does it say assess on the screen?
No,
It doesn't. Okay. I am
no.
advancing
Are you
now.
back on window on your
Um,
sharing screen?
I am sharing the screen, correct? And it should be on the assess is where it looks like on mine.
Okay. Go ahead and click on
Mhm.
the video at the bottom where it says share screen.
Okay. Let me
And then,
there. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
there you go.
Window.
Now it's there. Now it's
Oh,
there.
it is there?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. Were you able to see the last slide, the prepare one?
No.
Okay. Here's the prepare one if anybody wants to screenshot that. And
Thank you.
the different areas of assessing. Let me see if I can bring that to where it pulls it up on the big screen. Is that still good there? Can you see where it says assess?
No.
Okay.
Well,
so
we
it must-
can, but it's not on the big screen. So
And is it right
I
there?
think it's going to a different screen. Yeah, right there.
Right there. Okay, I'll leave it right there then.
Okay,
Thank you for
perfect.
letting me know what was going on.
Mhm.
Let's see. So we were talking about different areas that you can assess your parents' well-being, and social health is an important one that can be easily overlooked. This looks like quality time spent socializing, maintaining healthy relationships, and their support system. Next area you would want to assess is their spiritual health. This includes their relationship with God or their higher power, their purpose and beliefs, their values, and what spiritual practices they prefer to engage in. Their environmental health is very important as well. This is their safety to navigate where they are living or visiting, and emergency measures. Are they in place? Things like, smoke detectors, being sure they have a fire extinguisher, stuff like that. And are their surroundings pleasant? So the last one is my favorite as an occupational therapist. We call occupations, it's not just your 9-to-5 job, but OT refers to occupations as anything one does in their daily activity. So this is bathing, dressing, toileting, grooming, eating, home maintenance, meal prep, medication management, leisure activities, caregiving. This could be for maybe a pet, managing finances, their transportation, shopping, etc. So as you go through this list, the areas that need improvement typically will jump out to you. And from there, you can make and implement plans to improve the aspects of life that currently need the most attention. And if you're not sure where to start, one of the most beneficial areas to start is fall prevention. And that is because 1 in 4 adults over 65 and older experience a fall each year, and the risk of falling increases with age. So let's see if my next slide shows up. Did that show up for the
Looking
next?
good.
Okay, perfect. So falls, unfortunately, they can have a ripple effect for declining health. One might fall and then break a bone, and then they may be less active and in bed more often, which could spur on other issues like pneumonia, skin breakdown. That could lead to social isolation, which could become a catalyst to depression. Depression can become a catalyst to other illnesses, and it can really just turn into this vicious downward spiral. So it's so important to prevent falls if you can. And here's some things that you can do to help prevent falls. You can clear clutter from pathways, remove loose rugs, promote chairs of reasonable heights. These are chairs that have backs, arms, stationary legs. You want to remove any high bar stools or chairs like office chairs that have wheels on them, those are definitely an increased fall risk. You want to make sure pathways have even surfaces. You can install ramps if needed. You could install handrails on the steps or the ramps. You want to have increased lighting on pathways. And you can also have a OT or a PT, a physical therapist, assess needs for adaptive equipment. And if this sounds overwhelming, you can reach out to an occupational therapist like myself to help guide you through this process. OTs and PTs can also help assess for needs for adaptive equipment such as a shower chair, cane, rollator, walker, or wheelchair, which can further help reduce fall risks for some older adults. Now, other professionals that you may also benefit from reaching out to as your parents age include physicians, speech therapists, nursing professionals, social workers, life coaches, financial advisors, and those who work with hospice, as we'll shortly talk to Tracy, and she'll tell us more about that aspect. So helping aging parents really comes down to support systems. In addition to the professional support mentioned, support can also be found in family, friends, neighbors, previous coworkers, or church members, nonprofit organizations, and may also be beneficial. They can help with meal prep or transportation. And if your loved one has a specific diagnosis, such as Parkinson's or diabetes, for example, you can find local or online support groups that can more specifically meet their needs and teach them how to overcome the challenges associated with a certain diagnosis. Now, these resources are especially important if your parent requires a lot of hands-on assistance. The more resources you're aware of and can tap into, typically the less likely you are to experience burnout as a caregiver. So caregiver burnout, if you don't know what that is, it's also known as caregiver stress syndrome or caregiver fatigue. It is the physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion experienced by people who provide care for someone else, typically a family member or loved one who has a chronic illness, disability, or age-related needs. Caregiving can be demanding and overwhelming, and when the caregiver's needs are neglected over time, it can lead to burnout, unfortunately. So it's good to be aware of some warning signs for the burnout that can include exhaustion. Caregivers may feel constantly tired, both physically and emotionally. Even after getting sufficient rest, they may have difficulty finding the energy to perform their own daily tasks. Another red flag is emotional distress. Feelings of sadness, irritability, anxiety, and depression can be common among caregivers experiencing burnout. They may feel overwhelmed by the constant demands and challenges of caregiving. Another one to look out for is neglecting your own personal needs. So caregivers may neglect their own self-care, such as eating properly, exercising, or attending to their own healthcare needs as they prioritize the needs of the person they are caring for. They may further withdraw socially. If they're tired and they're irritated, it's common to kind of self-isolate. So caregiver responsibilities may limit the time and energy caregivers have for socializing as well and engaging in activities that they enjoy, which can lead to decrease in social connections, which is so important. Another red flag is increased physical health issues. If your immune system is, weakened by lack of sleep, and you might experience frequent illnesses, body aches, headaches. Another sign of caregiver burnout is decreased satisfaction and fulfillment. Over time, caregivers experiencing burnout may lose a sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, and purpose they once experienced from their caregiving roles. They may develop a new sense of hopelessness or resentment, difficulty concentrating and making decisions. It can also impair your own cognitive functioning too, so that you may feel, kind of scattered-brained, or notice that you're having a harder time making decisions, and that can be because of that stress that you're experiencing. So it's essential for caregivers to recognize and address burnout to ensure their own well-being and ability to provide effective care. Seeking support, practicing self-care, and assessing respite care or assistance from others can help caregivers manage and prevent burnout. Support groups, therapy, and educational resources can provide valuable guidance and validation for caregivers experiencing burnout. So if you are a caregiver, it's important to examine the same subcategories that we talked about a second ago. This slide right here, the physical, mental, social, spiritual, environmental health, occupations. You want to be looking at that for yourself as well. If to help keep that balance, one of the things you really want to stay on top of is stress management techniques. So some practices that you could explore are meditating, talking to a counselor or friend who's a good listener, visualization, exercise of all different sorts, whether it's something, as simple as, the basic yoga for 10 minutes, or if it's hot yoga, that's just a lot harder, or tennis, or just whatever exercise of your choice. Journaling is another good technique, as is breathing deeply and learning those breathing techniques, engaging in joyful and relaxing hobbies. And if you're not in good health, it's going to be that much more difficult for you to help your loved ones with their health. So it's kind of like the idea of putting your oxygen mask on before helping others. They always tell us that on the airplane, and it's the same with caregiving. You have to take care of yourself before you can really take care of others. Otherwise, that burnout can creep in. Now, before I close out here, I would like to get an idea of what phase the women gathered here today are in with their aging parents. If you can, raise your hand if your parents are still independent, active, and healthy. And let's see here. And raise your hand if your parents are starting to require help with higher level tasks like driving, finances, or house maintenance. Okay. And raise your hand if your parent requires daily assistance right now. Do we have any of those with us today? And let's see, let me get back to sharing this screen. Give me just a second. I think it went off. And can you see my screen okay now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So from that little poll there, it looks like we have a variety of levels of women caring for their aging parents. And no matter which level of this chapter you're in, I hope coming together like this reminds you that you're not alone. There's many resources out there for you to help plan for your parents as they age so that you and your parents can both live your life to the fullest. For more information on resources, feel free to follow up with me at jessicarling.com, or you can find me on social media under Jessi Carling as well. And I just want to thank you all once again for having me, and I wish you all the best as you seek to continue to care for your families. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you, Jessi. And if you would like, you can reach out to Jessi on any of her social media platforms. So thank you so much for doing that. It was amazing information, and I know that they're going to help a lot of people. I know you do every day anyways, so thank you. We appreciate you. And then I'd like to introduce y'all to Tracy Woodruff. I've known Tracy for a number of years, and she's always been working with the hospice, and she is definitely an inspiration. Personally, I couldn't do that job. I don't think I could, but I believe that, it takes special people and angels out there to be able to do those things. So thank you for that. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Tracy, and then you're welcome to start presenting with your screen. Tracy, you'll need to unmute yourself, honey.
Thank you, Misty, for inviting me to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my passion. I've been in healthcare for 14 years. most of it, over 10 of it, was in hospice. We're all dying. None of us are getting out of this world alive. And I think that that's one thing that makes me so passionate about it, is because dying is the second most spiritual moment of a person's life, first being birth. And I think it's something everybody needs to acknowledge and embrace, because it can be a beautiful thing when it's done properly. And that's when hospice comes into play. There's a lot of myths out there. I based my presentation today on kind of dispelling some of the myths that people have about hospice, and kind of bring forward a full picture of what hospice is. I'm going to share my screen now. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. I see Facebook right now.
Oh, okay. Will you let me know when it comes up?
You might need to say which. You may need to just share your whole, go back down and unshare your screen and then share again, but put a different way. So hit the same button that you hit to share your screen, and that'll unshare it. And then hit it again. It's going to give you an option of either Chrome tab, window, or entire screen. So go ahead and just do your entire screen for right now.
Okay, there we go.
Well, not seeing anything yet.
Yeah, it's not highlighting the share button.
So is the screen at the bottom still gone, like that little computer monitor where it says share screen?
No, I hit it and it says choose what to share.
So choose. Yeah, so choose at the top. It says Chrome tab, window, or entire screen.
Right.
And then click on screen 1 or screen 2. Whichever, and then share, and that should open the share.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see it?
So you'll need to click on your presentation. So it'll show on the screen. There you go.
Is it showing?
Let me see it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'm the volunteer coordinator with the Leaf Care Hospice. We're based out of Mansfield, but we take care of patients all throughout Tarrant County and Johnson County. It is a for-profit, which is the first for-profit hospice I've worked for, but it's owned by a wonderful man and extremely caring. He puts he walks the walk and talks the talk. One of the myths I wanted to talk about that I think is important is that hospice is for just the last few weeks of life. And in fact, the longer a person's on service, we have more opportunities for being able to provide quality of life at the end of life, throughout all of our disciplines that will visit the patient. Hospice encompasses the patient and the family, and we try and help walk them through any issues that they're going through, along with the idea of their loved one dying. The general rule for hospice is that you are given a prognosis of 6 months or less by the doctor. That doesn't mean that you are dying in 6 months, but he's basing it based on the progression of the disease process, that you could have 6 months or less. At that time, he would write a referral for hospice, and that's when the family can start interviewing different hospices. I highly recommend interviewing, because not every hospice is the same, even though they're guided by the same regulations. It's important to get to know the people that are going to be coming to see your loved one. Another myth is being admitted to hospice means you're giving up. And actually, hospice is a healthcare choice. It's provided for those who choose that they want to have more of a quality of life over quantity. For instance, with cancers, people are sick, sick from the side effects of chemo and radiation. Choosing hospice allows us to go in, manage the pain and symptoms so that they're enjoying life more and they're not having to deal with the pain. And when a patient comes on service earlier in the disease process, it's very helpful to allow the team time to get in there and know what a pain level of 7 means to them so that they can accurately treat it and know of any psychosocial issues they may be having. Hospice is not only for the physical care of the patient. Not all pain is physical. Hospice care is holistic and then provides physical, emotional, and spiritual care for the patient and family. Hospice is not always a place. We meet the patients wherever they live. It can be in an assisted living community, the patient's private home, in the long-term care facilities, nursing homes, memory care units, and sometimes even in hospitals. The patient's doctor chooses the hospice. You may find a situation where they can give you a list of some that they're familiar with, but the patients and the families have the absolute right to choose their own healthcare provider. And that's important to hold on to that information, because it gets hard when you're in a situation where you're knowing that you've got a loved one with a life-limiting illness and to think about everything that needs to be handled. It's important to know that there is a place that you have the right to choose who you go with. And I recommend interviewing 3 to 5 hospices before choosing one. Hospice is not expensive. It's covered 100% by Medicare and Medicaid, and many private insurances also offer hospice benefits. Everyone who is eligible goes on hospice, and unfortunately that's not the case. Only about 25% of those who are eligible for services actually receive hospice services. Many people don't know about hospice or are afraid because of the myths and misconceptions, and that's what I'm hoping to dispel here today. Many people believe hospice is giving up hope, or they will die sooner if they choose hospice care. And often people do not realize it is a healthcare choice and should ask their physician about it. Another one is hospice takes over the patient's care. And the hospice team actually consists of the patient's primary care physician if they want to remain the attending. We have our hospice medical director, that if the primary care physician wishes to not be the attending physician, our hospice medical director would come in and take that spot. Nurse, social worker, chaplains. I wish they would call them something different than chaplains. They're more like spiritual guidance, spiritual counselors in a way. Home health aides, they are the ones that care for the active daily living needs, such as bathing and dressing, possibly feeding the patients, and volunteers. The team does not replace your own doctor or pastor. The team is an addition to your support system. One of the goals of hospice is to educate the family so that they may take good care of the patient. Hospice should never try and take away the patient's or the caregiver's autonomy. One of the responsibilities each of us in hospice has is to empower the family to be the advocate for the patient. Our Alleviate Care Hospice mission statement is to alleviate problems, issues, and challenges associated with life-threatening illnesses by wrapping our arms around our patients and their loved ones in their time of need. We provide relief, support, and compassionate care specifically tailored to their individual physical, social, psychological, and spiritual needs, and we are dedicated to increasing awareness in the communities we serve about the benefits of hospice care. I think not trying to advertise for Alleviate Care, but this mission statement has been the most poignant to me in all my years in healthcare. Just the way we wrap our arms around our patients and their loved ones, that is truly what happens. I am the volunteer coordinator. Hospice is regulated by Medicare. They give us the rules that we have to follow. Medicare saw the importance of having a volunteer program within hospice Hospice actually started on it as a volunteer basis, where doctors, nurses, everybody that brought their discipline in was a volunteer. Hospice requires that 5% of all direct patient care time, so the nurses, social workers, chaplains, the hospice aides, 5% of that time is to be filled with volunteers. It's right now after COVID, it's really hard. Everybody's trying to rebuild their volunteer program because it was put on hold for over 2 years. But volunteers fill a special place for the loved ones and the families. The philosophy of hospice is to affirm life and providing support and care to those in the place of an incurable illness so that they can live as fully and comfortably as possible and die with dignity. We have volunteers provide respite care for the caregiver. Say we have a patient who lives with their daughter and the daughter's with her 24/7 and just wants to go have lunch with a friend. I'll have a volunteer come in and sit with the patient so the caregiver can get a break. And that speaks to what Jessi was talking about earlier about self-care for the caregivers. Volunteers are companions to our patients. It gives them somebody to talk to, maybe that isn't a family member or a personal friend of theirs. Volunteers it's good to have good listening skills. We have volunteers that read to the patients, do art and music enrichment. Volunteers will run errands or do some shopping for the patients, assist with light yard work and household tasks, administrative activities in the office, animal assisted therapy, where we take specially trained and certified animals to visit patients. It's amazing what animals can do to lighten the mood and kind of bring joy to people. Our memory bear program, where we take the clothing of the loved one, and our sewers will sew a memory bear or a pillow out of that item of clothing. 11th hour is a special program to my heart. That is when it is determined the patient has 24 to 48 hours to live. They can tell that the patient's becoming imminent. An 11th hour volunteer goes through extra training for this particular program, and they provide support at the bedside. I like to refer to it as kind of midwifing for the dying. They can be present with the family that may be fearful, never having lost a loved one before, and kind of help show them how it works. They walk in, they create a sacred space, and then they will participate in any spiritual or religious activities that the family or the patient might be interested in. And then we have our vet to vet program, where we have veterans, military veterans who will volunteer with our veteran patients. And that's special in that there's a lot of reconciliation that goes on at the end of life, and to be able to have somebody that understands what you've been through can really help open the doors to dealing with that reconciliation. That's it for my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, I'll close out then.
So I just want to say thank you, Tracy. That was amazing and such good information, because I honestly, a lot of those things, and thankfully I'm not facing this myself right now, but my cousin just did a few months last year actually, and went through the process with her dad. And like one of the things that had come up is she was at the very end, they're like, oh, he's close to dying, and they weren't prepared at all for that. They were like, what are you talking about? Like, he seems like he's doing better, but I guess there's also a point where they seem like they're getting better, but they're not. It's like that very last end step.
It's referred to as a rally.
Yeah.
As a rally. Yeah.
And so that was interesting.
Yeah. It's were they on hospice?
No. So they towards the end, they just had like friends and family kind of helping, checking on him and things like that. So I wish they would have, known a little bit more
Yeah.
like through that process and kind of what to expect. So this is definitely something that can help educate everyone. So
Definitely. And
definitely
knowing that there's
appreciate
people
it.
there, you don't feel so
Mhm.
alone in such a horrible time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
It's
sorry
definitely
about
tough.
that for them.
No, it's, it was kind of a freak thing, but it is what it is, and unfortunately fortunately he's up there in heaven. So no
Yes.
worries there. But thank you all. I appreciate you guys so much.
you.
And this information is not going to go to waste. So we have lovely people that are our business members that do get to watch all of this presentation that you guys provide. We do this on a monthly basis. So this is called our virtual educational series. And our business members get access and our personal members get access to this as well. But we also have like several events and activities that come up every month for DFW Women's Club. So one of them is like a social event, which we have coming up on Saturday. We have a pool party coming up. And then on next Friday, we have Bunko coming up. And then we have on, I think it's the 30th or 31st, this on Sunday, but we're doing speed friending. So we have all of these great like activities coming this month. And we hope that you all can participate in some of them and get to know more people, get involved in your community, because that's what this whole thing is about, right? So
Right.
we're glad to have you as part of our members, but also, that you're willing to come out and help other people learn a little bit more to gain knowledge and for self-development. So we appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank
You guys
you.
did a great
Yes.
job.
Thank you
And,
all for having us. And I
Yes,
love your all's mission.
thank you so much. We appreciate you. And hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to y'all
Thanks,
later.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.